It is now time for the BC Aboriginal Business Award for Individual Achievement. This award is presented to a person who, over his or her career, has made a positive contribution to the Aboriginal business community, and in doing so has served as a leader, as a mentor, and an inspiration to all. This award is selected by the board of the BC Achievement Foundation in consultation with the community. We believe it is appropriate today to invite the entrepreneurs of tomorrow to assist Minister Polak with the presentation of the special award. At this time, I'd like to call upon the delegates from the Youth Entrepreneur Symposium. Over the last day and a half, so let's give them a round of applause. The New Relationship Trust just got through hosting a Young Entrepreneur Symposium here in Vancouver the last 2 days, sorry. This was the winning team. Basically, they were brought in from all over BC to compete in a challenge where the first place team was going to be awarded $2,500, a trip to the National Yes to represent BC, and also with this distinguished honor to present this next award. They competed in some really tough challenges. They ran the Amazing Race. I'm assuming you guys have all seen that show. They ran the Amazing Race yesterday. These guys did it in 3 hours and 1 minute. Very challenging. But the whole point of it is all the delegates that came from across the province have entrepreneurial ambitions. And New Relationship Trust saw the leadership that was required to bring them together, provide some practical skills for them, and it was a great success. So I'm really pleased that this winning group is here for this next award. So it gives me great pleasure to invite the recipient of this year's award, to Chief Clarence Louie of the Sioux Indian Band, to come forward to accept the 2011 BC Aboriginal Business Individual Achievement Award.
Thank you. Let's give a round of a hand to the youth up here from the Young Entrepreneur Symposium. They won first place. It was so cool. I had a chance to speak there today and to see their commercials and to see the native humor. I loved that, sitting there watching them. And I want to thank those that organized the youth symposium and turned it into a competition where they had to compete for $2,500 and a chance to represent the province in the upcoming National Youth Symposium. So thank the organizers for putting that on. I hope that continues. I understand it was the first time it was done in this province. I recognize the traditional lands of the Coast Salish, Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and all the award winners tonight. I loved watching those videos. I love seeing our people working. I love seeing our people competing in the business world. I want to thank the organizers of this third annual BC Aboriginal Awards in the Ministry of Aboriginal Relations. And to the sponsors, like I told the youth today, I always look in the books, in the corporate handouts, or the handout at the event to see which companies put their money where their mouth is. Because without the corporations' support from those in the business world, you could not put on any event. And as one chief in Ontario once told me, every time they put on a powwow, if it wasn't for the business people stepping forward, they wouldn't be able to put on their powwows. So I want to recognize all the sponsors and thank Nora Newlands, my contact to get me here from the BC Achievement Foundation, who were so professional and courteous towards all of my demands for being here. And Fred for coming out to Osuyus and doing that nice video production. That's the first time I've seen that. And Nora, as I told you, I've had the chance to accept many awards going back many years and what I've learned, because I don't own any of these businesses. Those businesses that you saw in that video, I don't own any of them. They don't belong to me. They belong to the Sioux Indian Band. So whenever I get an award, it's a we award, not a me award. As chief and council, my council's here. We represent over 500 people back on our reserve. And it is the band, the Sioux First Nation, past, present, and future, that is chief and council. And as I mentioned, 3 of my council are here tonight. Ronnie McGinnis, over 20 years of service. Tony Baptiste, near 20 years of service. Teresa Gabriel, who I call our rookie council member, in her 2nd year. Helen Gallagher's here also, past council member and grade school teacher back home, an Aboriginal support worker extraordinaire. Many years ago, Helen started a dance group, and she does this on volunteer time. So Helen, I've said it publicly previously, I'll say it here tonight, limlimed. That's the type of people we need on our reserves. Those are the type of people that grew up on our reserves. And Brenda, my partner, for being here tonight. She's pretty smart, almost as smart as me. She's a harder worker than I am. I want to thank Slewa Tooth for seeing the talent in her and hiring her. Len, thank you. I will keep on saying, on the res, our band-owned businesses are about we, not me, and as much of the credit has to go to the past leadership of the Sioux Indian Band, and many of those have passed on, our ancestors, who lived a way tougher life than we had to grow up in. They grew up on our reserves across this land with no electricity, no TV, no running water, no paved roads. They had to build the fires every morning to keep the kids warm. We grew up in a lot easier times. And to the youth from Osius that are here today, I hope you'll respect our past and remember how tough the adults had it. And I told Nora, as I told those that thought to choose me for the Aboriginal Hall of Fame in Toronto last year, I wasn't going to go if I couldn't bring a group of my elders, my youth, and my adults in council along. And it was our business partners that stepped up to the plate. The people we do business with. They sponsored over 20 of us to go to Toronto, go to a Raptors game, and they all bucked up when I asked, every one of them. And we still had $16,000 left to bring this group that is with us here tonight. I said, I don't go anywhere without a bunch of Res Indians to come along with me. This particular night is very special to me because never, when I've won awards in Calgary, in Toronto, up in the Northwest Territories, I never was able to bring my mother or my grandma with me. Pauline Terbasket, can you come up to the podium here? My grandma, Maggie Kruger, she's in a wheelchair over there. She's 96 years old. She's the oldest member of not just the 7 bands in the Okanagan, but the oldest member, including the Colville tribe, which is our people across the border. And Pauline, you have something special to say about our grandma, Maggie Kruger. She'll be turning on December 17th, she'll be 97 years old.
Thank you, Clarence. I'm quite honored to be sharing the stage this evening with my relative, my relation, one of my bosses, Clarence Louie. And with that, his grandmother, Margaret Maggie Kruger, my mother's best friend, who is going to be 97 in 16 days. I would like for all of us, for us to wish her and sing her a happy birthday. Can she wave, Evie? Her daughters, Evie and Tilly and Lucy, are sitting right beside her. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Auntie Grandma. Happy birthday to you, and many more.
Thank you, Pauline. Good stuff. My mom, for the first time, Lucy Louie, is in attendance to see me receive an award on behalf of the Sioux Indian Band. When she calls me up, she always says, "This is your mother." When I was growing up, she had a house rule. I told the youth this morning, or this afternoon. A house rule that every First Nation should have when they're dealing with youth. She had a house rule. It was simple, it was direct. Go to school, get a job, or get out. People say, where did I get my work ethic from? Two of my aunts are also here tonight from Penticton Indian Band, Evie Kruger and Tilly Kruger. Tilly, I want to thank you for going, when I go back to my first job off the res, back in 1976, you drove me what I thought was 1,000 miles away to the Kootenay National Park. I got nothing against the Kootenays. But when I was left there, first time ever, off the reserve, I didn't want to go. My mom said, "You're going." She got my aunt to drive me there and left me there in the middle of Kootenay National Park. Again, that was a life lesson, because that was the best summer job I ever had. The best. And I didn't want to leave that job at the end of August, so to the Kootenay people, that's where I got one of my best jobs, was in your territory. Youth need those real job work experiences at a young age. Our native youth should be growing up as hard workers, just like the old timers. And as we're all biased towards our family, towards our lands, towards our nations, give me a chance here to be biased for a little bit towards the Sioux Indian Band and the Okanagan Nation people. Raylene Baptiste, thank you for coming here tonight. She's our Aboriginal support worker at our school district. Tyler Reddy, youth coordinator who runs our boxing club. Thank you, Tyler, for bringing boxing back to the res. Meredith Alex, welcome back home. It's good to have you back. I'd like the Sioux Indian Band youth just to stand up as I name them off. Alan, Tyler, Bo, Naomi, Kaya, Kayla, Dylan, Felicia, and JC. Thank you for witnessing this here tonight. As I mentioned, if it wasn't for our business partners, we wouldn't have that nice gym. We wouldn't be able to bring our youth to events across this country. I want to thank Fortis, Bob Gibney, Tim Mannon from RBC, Ed Romanowski, Bellstar, Spirit Ridge, Boughton Law, Graham Allen, Gene Ewan, Pauline Terbasket from the ONA, Vincor, who is our partner and opened up the world's first First Nation-owned res winery. And a big thanks to Dino, who I just met tonight. He works here at the Hyatt. He pulled a few strings to make sure that Inkameep Wines would be in the room tonight in this event. I mentioned to Nora, how can you have an Aboriginal Business Awards and not have first-class Aboriginal products as part of the banquet here tonight? So Dino Limlimt, on behalf of the Sioux people, for having Inkameep Wines, the award-winning, the best native wines in the world. There is no finish line in business. That's what I've learned. There is no finish line. There will always be highs and lows. Creating jobs and making money on the res is not easy, but the struggle is worth it. Our people need opportunity. To the province, to BC, to the corporations that are making a good living off of our traditional territories, to the Minister, Polak, the unemployment rate on the res should be the same as the unemployment rate off the res on all 200 First Nation communities in this province. I and other chiefs and councils across this country are saying we have Aboriginal rights, and one of those rights is our inherent right to take back our rightful place as leaders in the economy of our traditional territories. The youth on the reserves all over BC, we as leaders, native, non-native, government, and corporations, we must make sure that Aboriginal youth in the province of British Columbia, that their first check is a paycheck and not a welfare check. To close, I have to go back to 1985 at the age of 24 when I was first elected. I did what I hope all of you do, is go to school on First Nation business success. I want to thank many of the past Native leaders who I went to school on, who helped me and helped those Sioux get to where we're at today. Chief Manny Jules from the Kamloops Indian Band, and later on, Chief Shane Godfredson, who I call a bro now. Kamloops Indian Band is one band to go to school on. Chief Leonard George, at that time, the Burrard Band, and now Tsleil-Waututh. Len, it was you that did what every chief should do. Back in the early 90s, when I called you and I saw an article in some paper with you standing beside that Asian investor, I phoned you up and I said, can I come over and look at your development, Ravenwoods? He didn't hesitate. Tony and I went there. We spent the whole day, and Len did not send one of his staff members to show us around. He showed himself to be a real chief. He took the day off. He spent the whole entire day with Tony and I. And he personally showed us around. And I remember when we were heading back home, Tony Baptiste told me, did you just see what he did? He spent the whole day with us. That is First Nation economic development, when we share our experiences and we take the time to help others on their journey. Past chiefs and councils from the West Bank First Nation. And in recent years, Chief Willie Charlie Stahalis, who asked Shane Godfredson and I to sit on their board of directors for the Stahalis Development Corporation. Chief Willie, we're learning as much from you as you are from us. Limp to you. Alan Clark from the Department of Indian Affairs in Ottawa, who also plays a major role for the Aboriginal Business Economic Board. Limp to you, Alan, for helping us and helping Native people across this country. Mel Woolley, one of the best business calls I ever made back in January of 1990. I asked Chief Sophie Pierre at the time, who was the consultant? Who helped you put together St. Eugene Resort, the hotel and golf course, that I still is one of the best places to go in the province of BC? And Sophie said, Sophie did what every chief should do, just like Len George when I called him. She didn't shuffle me off. She told me, call Mel Woolley. So I called him. She shared advice for me. That's what we have to do as chiefs and councils, is we have to share advice to each other when another band calls. And we have to give up our time to help others, other First Nations people. So Mel, thank you. It's one of the best phone calls I ever made, and also one of the most expensive. Even though Councillor Teresa Gabriel told me soon after her first term on council, that white guy from Calgary is slick and shady. I want to take a few moments to thank my other business teachers, Chief Judith Sayers, the Dene Development Corporation in Yellowknife, the James Bay Cree, the Colville Tribe in Washington State, Jeff Greenwell, Rochelle Saddleman from the 2G Group, and all other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit business leaders who I have had the honor, the opportunity, and the privilege to come to your community to be asked to speak on First Nation economic development. To the advisory panel and jury, thank you for having Osuyus on your agenda tonight. Lastly, as much as I focus and I believe on First Nation economic development, and I spend my time on that side of the scale, and I want to thank Tony for being our member of council. It goes to the union meetings, it goes to the AFN meetings. I'd rather spend my time creating jobs and making money. But at the same time, I have to recognize the old chiefs, like Ed John and Stuart Phillip and Jody Wilson-Raybould. Bill Wilson's one of my bros, so I can get away with that. I want to recognize those First Nation organizations who fight the political fight, the Aboriginal title and rights issues, the treaty issues. Sophie, thank you for being the commissioner to represent us at the treaty tables. Those 100-year-old issues that are so important to our people, the Union of BC Chiefs, the Summit, the Assembly of First Nations. On behalf of Ronnie, Tony, Teresa, all my youth, my elders here, my family, thank you from the Sioux Indian Band youth and all of our members back home. Thank you for having a Sioux Indian Band on the agenda tonight, and to all the chiefs and councils, elders, and corporate people in this room. It's time we do good business, but it's also at the same time that we never forget to the Native people. I tell corporate Canada this: we at Osuyus will never be corporate Canada. We will take this business stuff so far because you have to run a business on business principles. I fully understand that. But we tell our advisors, and we argue with Mel and others sometimes, and Chris Scott and others, we will never be a non-Native corporation. We have a responsibility to our land, we have a responsibility to the waters, we have a responsibility to our people. We are never going to be a bottom-line driven band, as much as I talk about money. Our companies don't make as much money. If our companies were non-Native companies, they wouldn't be run like they are today. So maybe we don't move as fast, maybe we don't make as much money, but we will retain that identity as Okanagan people, as Siuyus people. And I know I see that when I see the other Native development corporations in this country and Native-owned businesses. We can still retain our nativeness and at the same time still do good business. So on behalf of the Siuyus Indian Band, I accept the award tonight for all of my people back home and those here tonight. Lim Lim. Thank you.